What is up guys, this is Wim and in this video I will show you 4 ways how to add magic to a boring sound. Almost every single one of us will probably know how to use a regular delay, but this time I want to show you 3 creative techniques that will take your sound to the next level. And the first one is called a slapback delay. This one is very useful for short plucky synth sounds, or for example for this clap sound that we have here, because it sounds very dry and short and we can use the simple ableton delay here to make it way more interesting. And for that we're gonna turn it into the time mode here, and we wanna turn it down to somewhere around 50 milliseconds. And now we created something like this. It sounds a bit too crazy, so we can turn the feedback down a bit. And now we can also turn down the dry and wet. And then of course we can also use the modulation options here. Use the time mode, for example. Let's turn it up again so we can hear it. So this time modulation here is changing the time of the delay effect. So on every single hit it sounds a little bit different, and we can create a very nice organic feeling in our track here. So let's see how this sounds in our track. So this is very short and dry. And this is creating a way more interesting atmosphere in our track here. Let's jump straight in our second category for our delay sounds here, which is a granular delay effect. And this works best on some synth sounds where you also have some negative space here in between the notes. So we can play the lead sound over here, and then when we have some empty space, this granular delay can take over and create a way more interesting feeling here. And for that I really like to use the portal effect. If we turn this off now, the synth sound sounds like this. But I already had a look in my presets here and literally just played around with some, and then I usually take it down to somewhere about 10 to 20% because it's adding some very nice glitches and granular delays here. This one also has a chorus or something like this. And of course you can go in here and even tweak it, but most of the time I just stick with the presets, so I don't want to go too much into detail here. And the third delay effect here is a Sounddesign Delay. And I already covered this in a couple tutorials. I will link one where I explain this method in detail in the description. Let's keep going with our next category. And within Ableton we have a couple nice techniques how you can add some texture, for example like noises, to your sounds. And that works the best for some drum sounds if you want to layer some noise on top for this classic melodic techno hi-hats. And you can also really nicely use this on some arpeggiator sounds, which I'm going to show you later. First we have this hi-hat sound which doesn't really fit in the track yet, but we're going to apply the vocoder effect and going to add some subtle noise to it. Don't really like it with so many bands applied here, so I usually switch it to 4 here. And then we don't really need the slower noises here. And it's still sounding very dark usually, so I just turn it up to somewhere around 6. And then we of course don't need such a long release. And also we want to blend it in just subtly here. So like that, the hi-hat is blending in way nicer with our melodic techno track here, and we are also creating a little bit of stereo width here by using the stereo mode, which usually sounds way better. And another really cool effect for this is called erosion in Ableton, and with this one you can see we have 3 different options. Usually I use the white noise mode, which is pretty similar to the vocoder effect, but it has a completely different texture here. And you can change the frequency here. And you can also change the width. I usually like it a little bit wider here, like this. And then the sine wave here is also very interesting for this ARP sounds. But we can also make this a little bit more interesting by going into the Max for Live tab here and choosing the LFO effect, and then we can map it to the frequency here. Now you can see that's a bit too crazy for our sound, so we're gonna turn down the depth and maybe turn the offset off here so it's a little bit higher. And we could also turn the rate down like this, and let's see how this sounds. Sounds already way more interesting, and of course we could also choose the random mode here. That sounds pretty nice already, but now I want to add some stereo width to the sound. There's a couple of different techniques here in Ableton which you probably already know. We can take the auto pan, of course, and this one is just lightly panning our sound to the left and to the right, which could work great on our track. But this time I actually want to use a chorus effect, which is usually sounding a bit more organic. For this I really like to use this chorus effect by Arturia. It has a very nice analog feeling, and let's see how this sounds when we turn this dry and wet up. So this is very mono and sounding a little bit harsh in this chorus here. It's really nicely smoothing our sound out and spreading it nicely into the stereo field. And let's get to our next category, which is distortion. And very often for beginners it's quite hard to figure out when is a good time to use distortion and when not. And in general you can really think of distortion and saturation of something that is warming up your sound and that is creating additional harmonies. If you want to have a dark and very minimal sounding track, it's actually not so good to use too much distortion. But if you're going for this very nice, warm and full, rich sound, then you usually want to use some distortion. And if you know my videos, you probably already know my favorite plugin for that. It's the Decapitator here, and we're gonna use it to warm up the sound over here. And the nice thing about this distortion is that we are also compressing the sound here. So now I'm gonna turn it off and you will see we have way higher peaks here, even though the volume level sounds kind of the same. And this is very beneficial for our mix down here because it's adding this nice analog distortion and it's also very gently compressing our sound, and that just works great in our mix here. And yeah guys, this is already my 4 favorite ways how to add magic to a boring sound. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by smashing that like and leaving a comment down below. Thanks for watching guys, I see you in the next one.